You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Laura Ramos James, owner and attorney at Ramos James Law, PLLC, focusing on personal injury law in Austin, Texas. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So tell me, are you keeping Austin weird? I heard that's a big phrase out there, right?
It is a big phrase. I'm doing my part.
Good. I like that. That's a great answer. Okay. And actually, I've been to Austin once on a bachelor party. Great time. It was a while ago, but it was fun. Great city. Happy to have you on, especially because Laura, you were first featured on Lawyer Stories May 17th, 2022. Do you remember that way back then?
That's
It
right.
actually wasn't that far. It was only about a year and a half, right?
That's right.
That's awesome. So welcome in. It's nice to finally have a conversation with you after a year and a half. I know you've done some awesome things. And I do have an updated lawyer story from you that I will share with the community at some point. It'll go on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. And, everybody's stories evolve. So I'm excited to share yours today, help you share yours.
Thank you.
So when you shared your story back in 2022, you start off by telling us you were the victim of a severe personal injury while growing up in Mexico. So what do you want to share about that?
Yeah, I guess maybe the most important part of that is that um, as it relates to my career, it definitely shaped who I am. I don't talk about this often, but um, I was bit by a German Shepherd. I
Wow.
actually had part of my nose taken off, and I had to have facial reconstructive surgery, and I had to do a lot of healing, physical and emotional, growing up. And I feel like that gives me a unique understanding and perspective of what injury victims or survivors, injured clients go through. And, it ultimately ended up being my career to represent injured people.
Wow.
That's it.
So, yeah, totally. And I love the connection there. I don't want to get too far ahead because there's a lot more to share. So, do you remember how old you were when that happened?
I was 3.
Wow. And I have a story for you when we're done recording about a dog bite and scratch. So that I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Thank you.
So so what was the moment? Like when did you move to Texas?
Yeah, so I actually moved to Texas, kind of unrelated to that, but once I grew up, I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
I grew up and I lived in Mexico City at the time, and I applied to go to law school, was going to go to law school there, and I came to the US as an exchange student, just wanting to learn English. And once I was here, I realized that jury trials happen here. They did not happen in Mexico back when, back when I was going to go to law school. So I never would have had the opportunity to be in front of a jury presenting someone's story and helping them get justice. And that's something that really, it was my calling. And so I decided that I needed to stay here and do everything in my power to stay. And that's when I guess I came and never left.
Yeah, okay. So did you have a moment, I mean, when you knew you were like, I'm going to law school, that sort of thing? Because I know your story, you say you wanted to help people, you wanted to get justice and serve, do good for people, but like, what was the moment you were like, okay, I'm going to do this through the pursuit of a law degree?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I feel like I always wanted to be a lawyer just by virtue of I never actually was exposed to a real lawyer. My parents are not lawyers. I didn't
Yep.
have relatives who were lawyers, but I would see in the movies, what lawyers would do. And that was my understanding of, the pursuit of justice for someone. And I always loved everything that I thought went with being a lawyer. I loved public speaking. I loved writing, researching, things like that. But it wasn't until I was actually practicing law and I was doing insurance defense that both things intersected, because I was doing insurance defense,
Right.
doing the opposite of what I now do. I was trying to get injured victims to say they would, they had moved on and close cases and claims.
Right. Right.
And then, deposing a widow and having as an ultimate goal to have her say that she's moved on with her life, when really, she's testifying and crying, and I'm wanting to cry with her.
Right.
That's when everything clicked. And I just, that's really when I discovered I want to be a lawyer for injured clients.
Yeah. So you were going through doing insurance defense as one of your first jobs.
Yes.
And you always must have known, you're like, okay, well, I'm learning insurance defense and this is going to help me when I go to the plaintiff side of things. And
that's right. One of my mentors said that I should take a stab at it and learn all I could from the other side.
Yeah.
And I did. And I actually loved the law firm that I practiced at. It was a small boutique firm in South Texas. They handled large wrongful death cases in one of the best venues for plaintiffs in the US. And I love the law firm. I probably could have stayed indefinitely had I not had those experiences where my adversaries, and injured plaintiffs were actually just so compelling that I just had to, switch.
Right. It's got to be hard after a while to see that, even though, you're working with good people, you love the firm, but then, you really want to be on the other side of it, like pursuing justice. So to go back a little bit, you were admitted into Baylor Law, and they had like a #2 ranked trial advocacy program. So, like, tell us a little bit about your law school experience?
Oh, my law school experience. You're bringing back all the memories. So it was, I hadn't been in the US for that long. And quite frankly, I am surprised they let me in because I don't think my writing or critical thinking were all there. And I didn't really do anything special. I was just in survival mode at the beginning. When I graduated, I ended up getting a couple of the high A's and did a little better. I guess I got the hang of it at that point. But
Nice.
law school was really, really challenging for me. I mean, I know that a lot of people are not English native speakers, and I certainly wasn't. And that's part of what made it very challenging. But I definitely, I have nothing but great things to say about that program.
Okay. So, what advice would you give to law students who want to be a trial attorney?
What advice? I think if you want to be a trial attorney, it's a calling, and go for it. Law school, as you know, is hard, I think, regardless, and the law practice can be brutal. And obviously, lawyers are known for having large percentages of of issues with substance abuse and things like that. But certainly if you find a good place to practice your calling, you're going to be okay.
Good. So, how long have you had your firm right now?
It's been 5.5 years.
5.5 years. Congratulations. That's amazing. So, you said, and you referred to insurance defense as, and I hate to say this, but I don't hate to say it, it's part of your story. You referred to insurance defense as leaving the dark side. Like, do you want to explain that a little bit more? I think you did say it in your story.
Sure. Well, number one, I have nothing but respect for defense lawyers, because I work with some incredible attorneys, and I've seen what defense attorneys can do for their clients. But certainly, the insurance industry is one that is not out there to help the individual. They're out there for profit, and really nothing more but profit. So that's why I think most of us who practice personal injury can say, or like we call it the dark side, because we've seen, just terrible strategies to try to delay payments and basically take justice away from people. And I certainly saw it. So
Yeah, for sure. Now, did you go to a smaller, like another firm before you launched your own, like a plaintiff side firm, or did you just did you just launch one?
yeah, I actually practice with two other plaintiffs' law firms,
Okay.
and one is now large firm here in town. Then another firm is smaller but takes larger cases, and neither one ended up being a good fit, which
Okay.
kind of helped, help basically put me in the path to opening my own practice.
So, like, that's my next question. When did you know you were ready to launch your own firm? Um, Ramos James Law, PLLC in Austin, Texas. When did you know?
Well, I don't think I knew, but my husband knew before I
Okay.
did. He, he has a way of, instead of, I think actually he probably should have been a lawyer, but he has a way of, instead of telling, asking. And so, he was like, what is it that you enjoy the most about this job? And what is it that, makes you so frustrated? And, he just basically was shining the light on the perhaps obvious answer that was right in front of me. And that's, I'm probably never going to be happy pursuing someone or helping someone else, achieve their dream. But really, my own dream was to have my own practice the way I wanted it, pursuing the values that I wanted to pursue, and having creating a work environment that I felt was healthy and balanced.
Mhm.
And basically, that's what it was.
So, tell us about the work environment at your firm.
Yeah, so I practiced at some point at a law firm where it was high volume, and I was doing a lot of, I mean, granted, the law firm was in the very early stages, but I was doing a lot. I mean, I was a litigation attorney, but I was also HR, and I was a 24-hour phone line, and it was a million things and more that as business owners we do, but this was for someone else. So I never had any input in the creative sort of things or the decision making,
Okay.
and so, or like deciding what cases to take or whatnot. So
Okay.
the other thing is, I felt like the quality of the work that I was giving my clients was lacking. I felt like I didn't, clients were getting angry. I wasn't returning calls promptly enough. I felt like I wasn't able to maximize the value of their cases because I
Really?
didn't have the time to get to know them. So I wanted to
Because it
create a
was
law
so
firm where,
because you had so many cases. It was just so okay.
that's right. It was so many cases. It was a volume law firm, a high volume law firm, so many cases. And I was I had so many hats,
Yep.
and, it was too much. And my hands were tied as far as decisions of when to hire someone to help. And I ended up deciding that I wanted a law firm where people never felt like they were underwater all the time, because, we, as lawyers, yes, you work a lot and sometimes you're so busy and you are underwater, but it's not sustainable to live like that or practice like that all the time. Ebbs and flows. I think it's a better way
Right.
for something to work out. So
Very good. So, what advice would you give somebody who wants to launch their own law firm?
Um, looking back, I did have the benefit that talking through things with my husband, he has some financial knowledge that I didn't have.
Mhm.
And I have told my friends and colleagues who have actually started their own law firms. I always tell them, consult with someone. Like, if we as lawyers, we know that we sometimes can be know-it-alls, and we kind of know where to find the answer, but we also should know when to look at a professional and seek out the advice that's gonna help make things happen. And like I said, if you do have that background, then great. But that's background I didn't have. I probably would have the savings that I put into starting the law firm would have been gone the first month, because I wouldn't, I would have gotten an office space and all these things that I ended up not getting and weren't necessary. This is before the pandemic.
Right.
But I consult with a professional on things that you don't know. And also, it's so possible. I mean, if you want to do it, do it. So many people, you're your own enemy when you're telling yourself, oh, I see all these people succeeding, but I could never do that. Yes, you can.
Yeah. No, I love that. So when it comes to getting cases, I know you mentioned that a firm you were at previously was pretty high volume. So what is like the best way, would you say, for your firm to get your cases? How do they usually come to you?
Yeah, we actually, that's the other thing from, I gained this knowledge from helping when that high volume law firm was in its early stages, that I learned that probably the best way is to have a variety of sources, because if one goes down, like for example, Google just ceases to exist,
Yeah,
then
right.
then you'll have your referring attorneys, or you'll have word of mouth with former clients, or you'll have maybe a little local publication
Mhm.
or things like that. It doesn't have to be fancy. But really, I mean, some of my largest cases have come from from very humble investments.
Okay, interesting. So tell us your three favorite things about practicing in the personal injury law space.
Three favorite things. The first one I'd say is the feeling of righting a wrong. Probably because of my own personal story, right? That it's always going to be something that it just that is close to my heart and rings true to do. So righting a wrong, representing individuals is the second thing. Instead of faceless corporations. I mean, I know that there's a lot of fun to be had and some people who enjoy that, but I like the story. I like people. I especially like representing people from all walks of life, because we have clients who are sophisticated owners of big companies, and we have people who have never had the benefit of any education, who are immigrants, or who are just from every single background you can think of. And I love that, and I love hearing their stories and how they've become who they are and overcome challenges. The other thing that I really, obviously doing that inside and outside the courtroom is one of my favorite things. And probably the last one is, I guess, related to people, is working with my team and working with people. I truly have made friendships with opposing counsel, attorneys who have, we've been adversaries and are now, esteemed colleagues and friends. And I just enjoy people, and getting to do that every day is fun.
That's awesome. That's great. Sounds like you definitely made the right move 5.5 years ago, launching your firm. Do you find yourself in court more or settling? How does that all work?
I think it's a balance. I don't go to court every day, and we don't have probably like office work and settlements every day either. So I would say it's maybe like 50-50. There are weeks when it's like very court intensive or
Mhm.
court related intensive, like it can be depositions that most of which now are remote and via Zoom, or mediations. They're also remote for the most part, at least in Texas. Um, and then sometimes we just have to be in the computer drafting motions and all that stuff.
Right, right. And so, like, how do you feel? You see a lot of things out there about referrals, like referring cases to big law firms, or like medium size, or just law firms. Like people get a case. Like, do you guys have? Do you get referrals from other people, other attorneys? Do you refer things out? How does your firm handle referrals?
Yeah, well, referrals are some of our, perhaps my favorite source of cases, because it lets me know that another attorney must think I'm somehow competent to
Yeah,
help
of course.
their client who came to them. And so, yes, we do. So colleagues who practice, for example, just criminal defense or immigration or something, they'll have a client who comes, They don't want to reinvent the wheel, so they just give us a call. And it's so easy because I mean, at least again in Texas, the law or the rules allow us to split fees.
Right.
So we essentially can pay a referral fee. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to advance expenses if they don't want to. And they just sometimes give us a call like, hey, thank you for the $25,000 referral check. I was not expecting that.
Wow.
Or, hey, this client is raving about your law firm. You made me look good. Thank you so much. So definitely love referrals. And we ourselves refer cases the same way, right? We only handle personal injury. So when they come for immigration or they need a contract attorney or something like that, then we send them out to people that we know and trust.
That's amazing. I love that. So tell us about like a recent win you might have had that you're really proud of. Is there anything that you could think of?
So recently we had a confidential multi-million-dollar settlement.
Nice.
It was a very interesting case. I guess trying to stay within the bounds of the confidentiality. It basically it involved a negligent driver who caused a crash, but there was a commercial policy in play. But the defense was trying to do things to make sure that we didn't get to the commercial policy. So we had to get creative and take a lot of depositions. It was very fact intensive, trying to make sure this case was commercial, because our clients were a mom and her preteen daughter, and they were hurt, and we wanted to make sure that they had a life-changing outcome from this because of their injuries, and we got it. So it was really, really rewarding.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's got to take give us some attributes that you think it takes to be a good an empathetic personal injury lawyer when somebody comes to you at their most vulnerable state. They had a big accident that changed their life.
I think this has probably been said a million times, but we lawyers love to talk. And I think if you just shut up and listen,
I like that though.
you just gain so much. You gain so much. Your client can just make an outstanding case because they can share everything you need to represent them properly.
I like that. I think that's great. Just listen for once, lawyers. Stop talking. Right. Okay. So you do pride yourself in being a value-oriented law firm. So why does it matter to you to be a value-oriented law firm? And tell us about some of those values.
Yeah. So we actually. I never, when I started the law firm, the last thing I wanted, well, I had a moment of, am I going to be solo, or am I going to, do I want to grow because I'm getting more cases, and now it's getting to a point where I'm not enough to handle. And I decided that I wanted to be part of a team, and a lot was imposed upon me when I worked for other people, and I never wanted that to be the case for the people I work with. So, but I definitely wanted to hire people that had, we shared values, and we shared beliefs. And so I did. And at some point we decided, let's sit down and figure out, what really matters to us, and how can we make sure that we live up to these standards and that we practice this way. And I think it matters because, in the practice of law, I mean, it's at the end of the day, whether we like to label it this way or not, it's a business. And if it's private practice, it's a for-profit business. This pays the bills, and it can be very profitable, but you don't want to be steered away from your vision by greed or by by other whatever you call it, whatever other emotion or thought. So I think just coming up with what we all share in common, our values and beliefs, and making sure that we all remind each other that this is what matters to us and why we're doing the things we do, was important to us. So then we got together, we came up with integrity, compassion, trust, advocacy, and results. And those things, are are definitely, I mean, we probably could name 20, 20 other things that are also
Yeah.
important. These definitely came up as top 5. And, we want to basically practice law in a way that we uphold these values.
Wow. And they were integrity, passion, trust, results.
Compassion, trust, advocacy, and results.
That's great. Um, I think that's great to have a vision with your law firm and make sure that everybody understands it at your firm. How many attorneys do you have now that you're working with?
We actually, so it's 4 of us, but we actually, we just hired someone. She just said yes. So now it's going to be 5. She starts in January. So very excited
Nice.
about that.
That's great. Congrats. She's got a nice month and a half off before she has to go to work.
That's right.
So
Very enjoy it.
that's right. She better enjoy it. So Laura, so you have won some amazing awards. Like I was looking at this, you have like a lot of accolades. I think everybody should know that we're sitting here with somebody that has won a good amount of awards. So this year you won Women's Way Award for Professional Services by Austin Women Magazine, Advocacy and Activism Award by Austin Latinas Unidades. You were named Austin's Monthly Magazine Top Personal Injury Attorney, Super Lawyers. You got National Trial Lawyers, Top 100. So, Laura, my question to you: what do these mean to you?
Ah, wow, what a great question, huh?
Wow.
They mean to me, they're a testament that we're doing the right thing. And I want well, you and I have talked about our kids. So, I have 2 daughters. I want my daughters to grow up and see these things, and just for them to know that this is a reflection of how passionate and committed to my work I am or have been. And hopefully they can find their passion, if they want to be a ballerina or an artist or lawyer, whatever they want to be, that, just doing what you love usually leads to recognition, I think.
Yeah, no, I love that. You got to find your passion, do what you love, do what you're good at. Usually, when you do what you're good at, it leads to a passion, and then hopefully, you can manifest that into a career. But I think, Laura, you're giving them a great example. So I would not worry about that one bit.
Thanks.
So tell us where you see yourself, in the next 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. We want to continue growing the law firm, but we definitely don't want to make it become something massive. We're hoping that we'll get somewhere around, so it's 5 of us, perhaps 10 attorney law firm, and open a couple of more offices in other major
Nice.
cities in Texas. Maybe Houston or San Antonio. We have offices in South Texas,
Okay.
which is very close to my heart because that's where I practice insurance defense.
Okay.
And then, just personally, where I see myself is hopefully continuing to have a good work-life balance, where I'm still a very involved parent,
Mhm.
and very involved with my team, and not not kind of detach myself from the practice of law and the law firm.
Oh, that's interesting. I was just going to say, do you ever see yourself sort of just going out, marketing, networking, and leaving sort of like the practice to people, but oversight of cases and that sort of thing and how everything's being processed? Do you ever see yourself taking on that role, maybe?
I actually have had to take sort of that role because,
Okay.
my second little girl was born in February, and my time was so limited, and I just only could do so much with whatever hours I could get of awake time for the first few months after she was born. But I just love the law firm so much, and the practice of law, that the opposite. As time goes by, I want to continue getting as involved as I used to be before my little girl was born, but at the same time, not leave the involvement that I currently have with my kiddos.
Yeah, no, it's so important to be able to to be there and see what they're doing. And obviously, but I think, when you run your own law firm and you're the boss, you're the partner, you create your own destiny, or hopefully you're able to create hours and, work at different times if you have to. I mean, hopefully that'll work out for you. So tell us again where your offices are. You're in Austin, Texas. Is your main office, and then you said South Texas?
That's right. That's right. We have an office in Edinburgh and in Brownsville, and
Wow.
they are small but growing. So we really want to grow our presence in South Texas. Part of what we try to do, I don't think we've talked about this, but part of what we try to do is really emphasize access to justice to clients who do not otherwise have it by offering Spanish speaking services.
Oh,
But
great.
not just having, the one paralegal who speaks Spanish, but
Right.
actually the majority of us at the law firm are Spanish speakers.
It's great.
We try to accommodate everything that comes with the challenge of either being an immigrant or speaking Spanish. Many times that is that if you lose your transportation, then you lose the way to make a living, because a lot of immigrants have their truck to go do their landscaping business or go clean houses or what have you. So we also help clients, with their property damage part of the case, which not all personal injury attorneys handle. But anyhow, that was just to say that we do want to continue extending our presence because, as you know, South Texas is one of the, heavily Hispanic or Spanish speaking parts of the country. And we think we can really help people out there.
That's great. Did you ever think about maybe doing immigration law, like back in the day when you were first getting involved with, with the law? I often ask a question like if somebody was, got involved in a crime, or if they got involved in I see if that was something that they thought about being like a criminal defense attorney, if they're doing something totally different. So I'm wondering, like, is that something that that you ever thought about?
So to be completely honest, when I said I always wanted to be a lawyer, and that I grew up wanting to be a lawyer, the vision that I had was really like a courtroom practice and as a
Yeah.
litigator. And I think there's some of that in immigration. There's also a lot of like paperwork and forms and things like that. I'm sure if I had a job, there are many things that would be enjoyable of that, but that didn't ever become something that I was too passionate about.
Right.
I was always more interested in the in litigation, and then once I got to the world of injury and all that, then everything all came full circle for me.
Right. I actually just wrote on my notes full circle because I wanted to ask you.
Oh,
Yeah, right here.
nice.
Full circle. You see that? So I wanted to ask because when you were 3 years old, I mean, you had the incident, and then do you think like that was part of why you wanted to go into injury law? Like, is that pretty much why? Should I not even be asking that question? Is it that obvious? I don't know.
No, I don't think that all came together until several years later.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Congratulations on that. Yeah, so it has really come full circle for you. I'm curious, like, what are you like in the courtroom?
Um,
I just thought of that, like, because I'm wondering if you just, you blow people away with your arguments, if you're intense, if you're, if you kill them with kindness. Like, what's your go-to?
What's my go-to? I think it depends on the audience, right? Like if I'm talking to the judge, I try to stay, super objective, and I know that they're trying, or I like to think that they're trying to be fair and they're trying to find middle ground, and they're
Yep.
not trying to side with one or the other, but of course, like find the right answer. And so, for example, if I'm cross-examining a witness that's a defendant who is, if there's a gross negligence factor, for example, a drunk driver or someone who's trying to evade responsibility, then I tend to be more aggressive.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's just a witness, I just try to stay also cool and composed.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I do want to mention that, we built this big network of attorneys, and I'm happy to introduce you, do a warm introduction to like anybody you might see on Lawyer Stories. We're launching. We hope to launch Lawyer Stories Connect in like the next few months. It's been sort of a slow process, but that we have a platform. The links in the Lawyer Stories bio. You could set up your profile there. We're going to have plaques. We're going to have like networking, virtual networking. We've already started doing some events in different regions. But if you see anybody on there that, might be a referral partner or whatnot, like I'm happy to make a warm introduction by email or whatnot. There's somebody in Texas or whatnot.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
That would be my pleasure. Absolutely. Did we leave anything out today that you wanted to touch upon?
I think just the logo thing. It's a little bit implied on some of what we talked about, but
okay.
The stars.
The stars, right? Tell me about the stars on the logo. I remember the logo. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So when we were coming up with that, this is our second logo. The first one, my sister designed for us for free, and I guess a few years later, we figured it was time for an upgrade. And we wanted to have something in there that let people know that we really want to bring, a 5-star customer experience and just legal representation experience to people who hire us. And that's the reason for the 5 stars. I think that's something that lay people like easily can recognize that, when they use it when they leave a Google review or Yelp or when they're booking a hotel. So we wanted them to know this is a place where we'll take great care of you.
I love that. That's great. 5 stars. It's amazing. All right. So Laura Ramos James, excuse me. So I really want to say it right. I want to get it right. So I'm going very slow, but I congratulate you on all of your success there in Texas, personal injury lawyer. And do you have any other advice or anything you wanted to leave us with?
I don't know, perhaps just that if people find the stories that they watch or hear of on your show inspiring, that they don't hesitate to pursue their own dream, and they don't think that that only happens to other people. It can happen to you too.
Love it. Thanks so much for being with us, and we're looking forward to airing this. Congrats on your success. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in, and wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.